My name is Namrata, and I'm based out of Bangalore. My training is in architecture, and I graduated in 2019. And since then, I've worked at a community design agency in Bombay, and I've been working along the fields of built environment and governance. So, actually, ever since I graduated, there have been a lot of events that I've attended at IIHS, so I knew that there was a program, and I wanted to apply for almost 2 years, except something or the other got in the way. And it was just through word of mouth from earlier fellows that I got to know how the experience was and then chose to apply. I liked the course of it, the fact that it was both theoretical and practice based, and because my domain was entirely practice oriented, I wanted to gather something more conceptual, and this provided the tools for that alongside a batch of people that come from very different domains. And it felt like a right fit, at least in my trajectory as I was seeing it. So, because I come from a very technical architectural background, I was looking to sort of expose myself to more theory based, research based tools and skill sets. And that was my primary expectation. But apart from that, I really was interested in finding out what sort of professional fields also do similar things in the urban field and try to bring it all together. And I guess that interdisciplinary space that UFP provides is what I was really looking forward to. So not as much, not just the course modules, but also learning from the cohort as well. So the course is just 10 months, which is very short. And if I were to say there was deep engagement, I would be wrong. There was engagement, and it of course it was the effort was to make it deep. But in 10 months, there's only so much that you can do, and and they were met up to an extent that there was a lot of engagement in the sort of issues that I was looking at. But if there were like 2 more weeks for, say, a set class, then it would have been a lot more interesting to take forward. So I think more so for me, I found new things that I could take forward in my interests and my research domains, and that really helped for me. My experience was wonderful, and it was just as much challenging. There were moments of frustration, there were moments of like absolute torment, but I think overall the experience was something that I will take forward. So I feel like I've been able to articulate myself better, hold conversations on subjects that I am still learning, and structuring my arguments more clearly. That's definitely something that's changed since I got into UFP. We started with the online mode of learning, and so it was a little harder to adjust because there was a lot of new information that was coming to us, and that was also very distant because of the mode that it was set in. But as soon as we transitioned into offline classes, a lot of the online things that we learned kind of made sense. So I would say that the offline mode, of course, takes precedence over the online. The most interesting part about UFP for me was that there was constant engagement in different types of things in the same week. For example, we'd have practice based the practica visits that we did, the practica project that we worked on, alongside skill labs, alongside master classes that happened in a span of 1 week. So there was a lot of material that we could pick up on in just a few days, which kind of infiltrated into the work that we were doing at that moment. So this content that was being given to us on a very like on varied aspects of the urban was something that I really find very interesting because it's always easier to work on a certain project when you have all of these tool sets available to you. I think another very interesting uh, part about the UFP is that you get to work with varied sets of people from very different backgrounds, from very different domains. And the learning experience that you get, especially on field for me, was because the way that you look at things as someone who's got an architectural background versus someone from a sociological or humanities background is very different. And that sort of learning is very hard to miss out on, very easy to miss out on a classroom sort of setting. But actually having this sort of practice-based module helps to see that part of learning come through. So the three terms that we had, the foundation, commons, and the electives, they worked really well. I would have actually preferred the commons term to be a larger term because that had the most engagement in all of the terms that you put together. The electives term for sure because it helped us. So all of that we'd learned through the two terms that just happened. We kind of got to bring it all together in the electives terms, and also in the elective terms we had advanced skill labs through which we could explore a lot of tools that we wanted to work on our individual projects as well. So definitely that. Elective terms primarily, but of course practica too because that really helped me put together all of my interests into theory and practice. Practica was a great learning experience. All of the conceptual learning that we did over the week, we got to experiment that on field, and it was great for observing things that we were personally interested in as well. Also, working with a very diverse set of people on field is something completely different, and you also get to learn a lot, but there are inherent differences because of the domains that you come from. And so, some of our research did bring out the differences and the debates and the dialogues that we had, which was interesting to see at the end of it. But overall, it was something that was very fulfilling because at the end of it, you get to see a product that's been brought together by very different individuals looking at just one concept in the urban. I think without knowing what exactly is happening on the field in reality, it's very hard to write about or think about or talk about. So it's fair that we had all of these conversations about governance, infrastructure, planning, identity, but without actually having experienced that on field, it's very hard to even engage with something as deep as say identity in a certain settlement, or if you're looking at some sort of practice like vending, it's very hard to articulate all of those thoughts without actually having experienced it on the ground. Most of the modules are centered around things that are currently happening in and around India, but also looking at details, timelines of the entire global south. And all of the things that we are looking at also helps us to engage with larger debates that are happening in the world right now with regards to the economy, with regards to public health, etc. So the project that we're currently working on as part of our electives term is called Rethinking the Off-Grid City. We're looking at ward number 30 in Bangalore, Kadugondanahally, and seeing how the infrastructure provisioning is and what sort of materiality, what are the governance structures there, and how exactly it is been allotted and how the infrastructure has evolved over time. And this we're doing through conversations with the community, the neighborhoods, the authorities like PBMP, BWSSB, and also trying to understand if there are other off-grid mechanisms that have been taken over by the people themselves in response to not having adequate grid and infrastructure in place. If I were to look at my trajectory from when I started UFP to now, I'd say there's been a lot of growth and transformation, not just in terms of knowledge on the urban, but also in terms of figuring out what exactly my stance is on a lot of these concepts. So, having a debate right now very vocally is something that I wouldn't have been able to do before, or hold even a conversation along the current themes that are ongoing. And I think that's only something that a cohort like this and a program like this could supplement. And of course, in terms of the urban in itself, there's a lot of technicality to what I know right now, a lot of facts, a lot of prior understanding that has been laid out. So the foundation is pretty sturdy right now, which wasn't before. And I'm able to articulate and kind of compose all of these ideas that were just very nascent before. It was very fast paced. It was a lovely experience being part of this campus, having the facilities that we did. Access to the library was something that was absolutely life changing, because all of the things that we couldn't find answers for at the library definitely was a great support. Of course, the area that we had to ourselves as UFP fellows was great to work on and kind of vomit out our ideas onto the tables, the walls, etc. One of the events that I remember, at least finding myself constantly watching over the years, has been Urban Lens, and this year too. Despite the fact that it was online, it was very interesting to look at the diversity and the curated movies that were put out. And I think it's a great addendum to what we already know, but to look at it in different forms of media being represented from across the global south is absolutely great. If you're looking to be in the field of the urban and you're struggling to navigate where exactly you should position yourself, I would highly encourage anyone to come apply, because it definitely gives you a new perspective into looking at, even if you're looking at very similar things post the program, it'll just give you a very different lens to view it.